Hi, I'm Rebecca Brand, and welcome to COVID-19 Updates. This is a show where we bring up-to-the-minute information to our community in Santa Barbara County and the Central Coast about what's going on during this unprecedented time. Today's guest, we have Congressman Salud Carbajal coming to us from Washington. So thank you for coming to the show, and here it is. Hi, I'm Rebecca Brand, and welcome to COVID-19 Updates. It's a new show covering events happening in our county at this time.
I'm at the Black Lives Matter protest, and there's a lot going on, and I'm getting a lot of hate.
I'm here to join in solidarity this group who wants things to change.
And that's what today's about.
Our guest is Congressman Salud Carbajal. We're so excited to have him on this first day back on TVSB, taking time away from his busy schedule to give his personal updates, of which he has some to tell us. So welcome to the show, Salud. Thank you so much for speaking to Santa Barbara and Ventura County and San Luis Obispo County, where our signal for TVSB is. We are so thrilled you are here. Welcome.
Thank you, Rebecca. Glad to be with you today.
So happy that you've recovered, that you actually had COVID yourself. We all want to hear about that and what's happening in your end in Congress.
Did contract virus. My wife did as well. She happened to be here with me in D.C. And after about 14 days, we recovered and we were able to fly home. Was home for a week or so and then flew back to conduct this week here in Washington, D.C.
So what's going on in Congress right now regarding this pandemic? Give us some inside information of your efforts here to help quell this.
I'm very hopeful that the Senate leadership as well as the White House will work with the leadership in the House, where I am a member of, to move forward sooner rather than later. Another economic relief package to assist those that are unemployed, small businesses, families, local governments, schools, have the necessary resources that they need to be able to get beyond this COVID crisis that we're all experiencing. Governor Newsom has a framework by which we could protect the public health and yet open up our businesses, but we have to adhere to science, the advice of our public health professionals, so that we could move forward with protecting the public health and opening up our businesses.
And how is that looking? What hope do you have that maybe a stimulus package may be forthcoming?
Well, it's been somewhat of a roller coaster. Initially, there was hope that we would come together in a bipartisan fashion and move forward an economic relief bill a few weeks ago. Then the White House decided that it wanted to focus on other things and not moving forward a bill. And now Mitch McConnell in the Senate has said that he is interested in engaging in those talks and negotiations again. So that provides another glimmer of hope. Focus on moving forward an economic relief package, because there are so many people that are still hurting that need that relief. And we also need a robust plan to coordinate with all the states to provide testing, tracing, and making sure that we move the vaccinations that seem to be coming online and fanning those distributions throughout the country and on the Central Coast. Move forward in protecting our public health and opening up all our institutions and our businesses.
What can you say about the process of that? What does need to happen in order for the Central Coast to be getting more tests and more capability for that?
There lies the rub, Rebecca. And I am trying to be as collaborative as possible and nonpartisan here, but you can't not blame on this administration who never put in Defense Production Act to make sure that we had production of more test materials, more testing machines distributed throughout the country, because that is one of the major factors that will help us in reopening our businesses and our institutions by having more tests. The PCR tests, which are the most robust tests, as well as rapid testing. But to date, we are struggling to get enough tests available and processed throughout the country and on the Central Coast, because this administration never put in the Defense Production Act to make sure that we had production of those tests. And thank God Governor Newsom has made some inroads in providing more tests throughout the state, but it is still not enough.
There is a certain part of the population, and you know me from social media, that I get these comments all the time, and they don't really see the importance of testing. Can you explain why testing is really important?
I think it allows people to go on about their lives. And the sooner we can know if people are positive or negative, that could alleviate some of the bottlenecks and some of the closures that we're experiencing. That's why testing is so important. It's not to say that it's the whole panacea, because I know there are many people out there that are also asymptomatic. But at the end of the day, that's why testing will help us give people the confidence and the trust that when institutions open up, that their public health is protected. Both workers, the public that is frequenting many of these businesses and institutions. That is one piece of the ability or the strategy to reopen.
Excellent. And can you please explain to us how come contact tracing is so important?
Contact tracing is so important because it allows us to fully understand and trace the epidemiology of how people contracted the actual virus and who else might be part of that chain or network of contagion, so that we could go contact those individuals and make sure that they are quarantining as they need to be. And then individuals that came in contact with those that are positive know that they have to quarantine, they need to take precaution, because without that, you have individuals rampantly out there.
What are the rules about holiday gatherings? How many people? What environment, how many inside, how many outside? There's a lot of confusion about gatherings in Santa Barbara and surrounding counties.
It's my understanding that that guidance and framework was just put forth by the governor, and county government and the state of California are finalizing that outreach education to make sure that all those concerns that you've identified that are causing confusion are clarified in terms of who can open up, under what conditions, under what criteria, to make sure that people are clear, not confused, and know what the public health guidance is for them to carry on with their life.
Yes, with the contact tracing, I mean, one of the things you kind of touched upon was certain groups or places or activities will lead to more spread, and by contact tracing we can find out. For instance, flying on airplanes. Now, that hasn't seemed to be a big category of spread as of yet. But we could find in the future that will maybe come. What's your opinion about that versus outdoor dining at restaurants versus backyard barbecues? Where do you sit with all of this in your advice for people?
It's our public health professionals that are providing guidance as to how we can best protect the public health and yet make allowances. And certainly, people should not be flying at this point unless it's essential, to make sure that we are minimizing the risk. Certainly, I have to fly back to Washington to do my job, but I have to come and fulfill my responsibilities. We're getting guidance, like I said, from the governor and local public health officials. But the biggest issue that I think the public should be aware of is that with the holidays coming up, we all have to be extra aware and minimize too many people gathering in our families and in our household. I myself and my wife are going through a process of how small we're going to keep our individual festivities for the upcoming holiday. We've already told our daughter that she is going to stay home. She is not coming over, and we're not going over there. But one has to be proactive, because it's easy to invite people and friends and family, and we just can't do that. This is the one holidays that are coming up where we just need to do something different and make sure we're minimizing the risk.
And you're even doing it yourself. You're leading by example. There's many ways that you can celebrate in a new way only this year. It is only temporary, like you're reminding us all.
That some vaccines are on their way. It's not going to happen overnight. There's going to be a huge campaign and process to distribute and get those vaccines out once they do become available, which is anticipated in early next year. Different states, and luckily we're in the state of California, where Governor Newsom is already putting in place the infrastructure to help get out those vaccinations when they become available. And again, giving people that sense of hope that we're sooner rather than later with the vaccine, we'll be able to get out of this pandemic. I'm hearing optimism by people that by next winter, maybe even summer, but summer might be cutting it close. We should be back to a sense of normalcy, if that's still a good word to use.
Facebook is wanting me to ask you questions like, is there any plan for healthcare rationing in the worst of cases for our local hospitals? Has that even been discussed at this point?
Rebecca, I think that has been discussed. At the state level, and our local public health officials. We're lucky that our public health officials, at least on the Central Coast, have been doing a lot of planning for various scenarios, including worst case scenarios. So yes, they have, and don't forget that the federal government continues to have a role, but there are areas being overwhelmed. I'm hopeful that with the Biden administration coming in, that they are going to put in protocol. They are going to work with states more aggressively. I have every confidence in the world that if still needed, President-elect Biden will put in motion the Defense Production Act and get the type of production for PPE, for testing, for antigens, for machines that provide the outcomes of the testing, that all of that will be rushed. I have every bit of confidence that the incoming administration is completely committed to making that happen.
Wow, I love that you have just brought up all of those things that you have, that Defense Production Act, for all of those things that we need and our medical professionals need. That is very wonderful of you to let us know that that's on your mind in Washington, D.C. right now, and that you're supporting those things. Speak to us about your thoughts. You've gotten through COVID, but there are these people that are long haulers. Can you just speak to that?
Well, absolutely. And long haulers are people who take longer than 10 days or so, continued symptoms. It could be months. I myself continue to be a little fatigued and have body aches beyond the quarantine that I went through. We're learning a lot about this virus, that it could have long-term effects in various symptoms. And I think that as we learn more about this, I think our public health officials are going to continue to develop the types of treatments and assistance and studies to make sure that we are assisting those individuals that are long haulers.
But what are your thoughts to the pain of this for this pandemic? All the extra healthcare costs and the long haulers, and some of those symptoms are going to be pre-existing conditions, obviously, in the future.
Absolutely. Well, no doubt this is going to be part of the aftermath to really understand how it affected our healthcare costs and individuals and families. These are going to be ongoing issues until we fully assess the impact of this pandemic on our public health and costs as well.
Do you think our nation and our California government can afford whatever those costs are?
I think that while they're significant, we are fine as a nation. We earn and we make investments the way we need to be making investments, that we continue to address improving our healthcare, making sure that we are bringing down healthcare premiums, bringing down prescription drug costs, and certainly that we provide support for continued assistance to individuals who suffered from this pandemic, and making sure that our insurance companies are covering the costs of the after effects of COVID, and making sure that people are not left behind when it comes to the medical care that they need and deserve.
And just one more question, are the people that are experiencing homelessness in our community, social media is asking me to ask you this, are you finding, or any other states in America, are they finding that that population really has suffered a lot? Because not that much information is coming out about that population dying or contributing to a lot of the spread of COVID. What do you have to say to that?
Well, I think a number of our sociologists and public health professionals have identified that there are some disparities where certain minority communities were disproportionately negatively affected. Certain socioeconomic groups and certainly the homeless were greatly impacted as well. And certainly we need to do everything possible to make sure that we are addressing those disparities. But certainly there were some disparities that have been identified, and we need to make sure that we are being equitable in our resources and our healthcare to make sure that no one gets left behind, and those who are more negatively affected are addressed or are being taken care of.
Absolutely, and we are seeing in the directives by Governor Newsom that there has to be an equity involved in the cases and where the cases are spread, because we're finding more cases. Poorer, lower income neighborhoods and populations, they're suffering more from this. Thank you so much for fighting for everyone so no one's left behind. Well, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show, and we hope maybe in the future you might be able to come back again.
Absolutely, Rebecca. Rebecca, I want to thank you. I've been following your commentaries on our public health and the need for people to take personal responsibility in wearing masks. You're educating and providing outreach to the general public on how the seriousness of this virus and how we need to take every precaution possible to avoid contracting this deadly virus in some cases. I just so much appreciate you giving this important issue much attention, but more importantly, I love that you have put forth commentary and opinions based on good, sound science and supporting those public health professionals that have given us great guidance. So kudos to you for covering these important issues, for being pragmatic and rational in getting information out to the public.
Oh, you have touched my heart. Salud, because my dad was in public health. I feel like I'm channeling him now.
If he's still with us, he is a very happy father. And if he's not, he's looking down on you and appreciating your leadership and your doing your part as a public service.
You're so kind to me. Thank you so much, Salud. We wish you great success in Congress. And thank you so much again for coming on. Bye-bye now, and happy holidays with you and your family.
Thank you. You too.
Well, that's it for the show today. I'm Rebecca Brand. If you'd like to contact me with more questions, I plan to be continuing with this show. Please do at RebeccaBrand.com. Send me your questions or follow me on Facebook. Thank you so much for watching this show. I hope you all have a very safe holiday season, enjoying the ones you love, your friends and your family, and perhaps a new way. Bye for now.